like bathing my 6-month-old daughter wasted, or almost slipping down the steps, or driving my nephews wasted and almost getting in a car accident, something like that. Then something beautiful about me again with some serious tone, and will I get help? Every letter ended with will I get help? And I didn't even know I was that bad. I knew I like worked hard, play hard. I knew I got a little out of control, but I was bad, man. I was bad, and that was the beginning of my end. They wrote the letters in such a way that I was able to surrender and get in that car and go to treatment. And that was the beginning of me understanding what I am, what alcoholism is, what addiction is, and this whole journey of mine began.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. As usual, amazing guest. It seems like I say that every show, but honestly, I feel like every one of these conversations is amazing because it helps you in some way, and that's what the show is about. Today we have Adam Jablin on the show. He's going to talk with us about some very, very powerful experiences he had, and you may be able to relate to it, but if not you, maybe somebody you know. He has transformed his own life and gone from addiction to all sorts of amazing, amazing successes. And I'm not talking financial success, which I'm sure is there. I'm talking about life success, finding your purpose, and really taking that experience and turning it into something where he's helping other people in so many ways. So, Adam, welcome to the show, man. This is going to be fun.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Wow. We could start in so many places, but I think maybe we just jump right into that spot where maybe people can relate, and you can maybe just bring us back to that point in your life where you had that moment where you're like, you know what? I have this situation. I don't want this to be the way it is. I'm going to change. And that's probably a powerful spot right there. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a white light for me. It wasn't a white light experience. I walked into an intervention, right? And it was a great business day. We got a huge order from Victoria's Secrets. My ex-wife and I had just been into a huge fight a couple of days before, and I had gotten to an alcoholic kind of like just like screw everybody, but I didn't see it coming. I walked into an intervention, and there were my most loved ones with letters, and a gentleman there, Michael Walsh, who now to me is like a guardian angel. But him telling me, I'm here for you. And I'm like, I don't know who the hell this guy is. He's in my parents' house in an intervention. He's telling me he's here for me. It looks like he's here for them. And he just told me to calm down and listen. And everybody's letter sounded very similar. It was something very beautiful about me, something very sweet. Then something that I've done recently, right? Like bathing my 6-month-old daughter wasted, or almost slipping down the steps, or driving my nephews wasted and almost getting in a car accident, something like that. Then something beautiful about me again with some serious tone, and will I get help? Every letter ended with will I get help? And I didn't even know I was that bad. I knew I like worked hard, play hard. I knew I got a little out of control, but I was bad, man. I was bad, and that was the beginning of my end. They wrote the letters in such a way that I was able to surrender and get in that car and go to treatment. And that was the beginning of me understanding what I am, what alcoholism is, what addiction is, and this whole journey of mine began.
So many people, I'm guessing, probably have that same experience, but don't accept it. It sounds like it worked. I mean, it worked, and you were open to hearing it. Were you already somewhere like in your own mind beginning to have that thought process where like, hey, I don't feel good. This can't be good. Something isn't right. And maybe it made it easier for you because you were kind of open to it and you just needed somebody to present you with it.
I listen, look, even in that, what I didn't cut out was I was still full of denial, right? Like I didn't even agree to go to the full 28 days. Like they made a bargain with me to go for 10 days. Alcoholism addiction is a tricky, subtle demon and foe. And I wouldn't say that. I would have taken this thing all the way to the end. Now,
Really?
did I not like hangovers? Did I not like looking bloated? But I had a cure for everything. I mean, I would drink, go to a sauna, go to a steam, not eat carbs, you name it. I would do whatever I can to build a perfect mask so I could do what I had to do. But I was dying. And what was really happening was it was becoming a sickness of my soul once and for all. Like, bro, I got really dark. Like thoughts like this. Like, is this what it's all about? Is it so I get more money? And everything I thought everything was BS. Everything. Democratic Party, Republican Party, Independent Party. Oh, now I'm finding out that these referees are being paid to alter games that I used to like. And I felt like I was like, so basically everything is bullshit. Everything I know I was going to a place that was dark, where for me, I'm a lover. I'm a big lover, and I love people. So for me, hurting people is not dark. When I don't care, you better watch out.
That's right. It's reckless. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no consequences.
I don't care. I don't fucking care.
How did I'm really curious. We did jump in when you're at that spot already, but how did you even get there? How did you get to be in that position to begin with?
So I'll try to give it to you in the summary, but when I was growing up, I grew up in Tenafly, New Jersey, which was
I'm from Wayne.
5 minutes. I'm like 5-10 minutes away from George Washington Bridge.
Yeah.
Northeastern kid. And growing up, I had the greatest childhood in the world. Like if everyone's ever seen the movie Big, it was like that. We had bicycles, we were out all day. There's no cell phones. The one thing that I would say that made my childhood awkward or made me feel strange was I was the fat kid. I was the heavy kid. My dad would call me El Chubbo. There was a movie in the 80s called The Goonies. And this kid Chunk would do the Chunk shuffle. And my friends would make me do the Chunk shuffle.
I remember.
And I hated it. I absolutely fucking hated it. And then when I was 11 years old, we moved down to Boca Raton, Florida, where you could have your shirt off every day and be at the beach and be in the sun. And it was completely different because there was no culture down here yet. You know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, 30% of the room was Asian, 40% of the room was black, 30% of the room was white. Like here was all white. Everyone's wearing a collar shirt. I just did it wasn't me. It just wasn't me. And I had a real culture shift down here in this Boca Raton. And I remember wearing like shirts when I would go in the pool and it would suck to my fat. I just hated it here. And I made a decision that I was going to stop looking like this and being like this. And my dad let me watch Rocky 3 with him, and it was Sylvester Stallone versus Mr. T, Stallone. And I just remember thinking, like, I had this thought. So I had a thought at 12 years old or 11 years old that stayed with me, which was if I could look like that, all my problems would go away. That's literally what I thought.
So so a belief just got planted in your brain that all of a sudden began to define.
If I could look like that, all my problems go away. All my problems in New Jersey would have gone away. All my problems here would go away. And my mom starts buying me Flex magazine and Muscle Fitness magazine. And
I used to read those too. Yeah.
And they bought me a weight set. I started going to the gym. And in 4 short years, I went from being the fattest kid in the class to the best built kid in the class. Right? My mom stopped buying me 6 pieces, chicken McNuggets and soda and fries, and was giving me grilled chicken breast and an apple. And I was training every day. And guys that used to be like, yo, how many Oreos you eat last night? Now we're asking me questions like, yo, man, how much can you bench press? And the girls liked me. They liked everything changed on the outside except me. I was this class clown, charismatic, make you laugh with me before you laugh at me guy. But with the muscles and with the coordination and with the skills, I started being able to hang and play with the older kids. Now, I can't explain this, especially now that we're all in our 40s and 50s, who's ever listening to this, but when you're a middle school, high school kid, and your capabilities are that you can hang, there's something about older kids that felt cooler. They had more freedom. They had more opportunity. They were just cooler, right? And I was hanging with the older kids, and I was a football player. I was this, but and I can't explain. There's no peer pressure. They passed the 40, they passed the blunt, and I drank it. And Matt, all I could tell you was it fixed something inside of me that I did not know was broken. That's the thing. I didn't know it was broken. And then when I drank and it fixed it and it matched my outsides that were already, dude, the kid is here. Yo, the party. And my whole life was designed. I was like this package of Stallone mixed with fucking Cruise, mixed in fucking Ferris Bueller, went to Arizona State. I got the first fake driver's license in my high school. Everybody came to me for that. Went to Arizona State University because it was the #1 party school, and I fucking dominated it. So how did I get there? Everything in my life was designed around drinking, partying, being charismatic, being well-known, doing well, even within business.
That's your identity. You created that identity.
I created a complete identity.
But inside, it was covering something up, which you think you've discovered goes back to that being a chubby kid.
Yeah.
That never got addressed. You still had that.
How did I get there? It was a whole life. It was a whole lifetime of building there. It wasn't like the occasional, I had a couple of beers at the bar and it took some of the relief off because, income taxes were coming. Like, it wasn't that. It was
almost like, when you tell that story about being a chubby kid, it was like a complex where it's like, I'm not good enough, or people are going to think something of me, or they're like, you're being judged. It's like, that's deep stuff. Like, that has to be.
I'll be honest with you. I always tell people, I don't ever even think it's ever a drinking problem. It's a thinking problem.
It's a thinking problem. Oh, not a drinking problem. I've never heard that.
Like once you remove the alcohol, then what?
What are you left with? What's really there? Who are you?
Remove the substance, and you can say anything. I mean, I did hardcore drugs. Once you remove the substances, then what? Then you have to deal with what's going on in here.
You just actually transitioned. I don't know. You were telling that's so powerful, because there's so many people that are in that position, like where that's all going on, and there's nobody to stop that train. You're only going to stop the train yourself. Either you're going to get killed, you're going to get hurt, you're going to hurt somebody else. Something's going to stop the train. And it went on for decades with you, it sounds like.
Yeah, it went on till 30 years old, till 30.
Oh, you're fortunate, because you kind of caught it pretty early relative to the rest of your life. I mean, you really set yourself up. So when you actually had that, bringing it back to where it was before, now you have that conversation, and thank you for being so vulnerable there. That was really, that's generous of you to share that. When you're in that room, you're with your family, you have the letters, you go for 10 days, I think you said, and you still had some denial. Like, where was it that you got to that point where you're like, this is who I am, this is what's going on, but then this is what I want to be and who I want to be, this is where I want to go now. Like, there was a change, a transformation somewhere.
Yeah. So 3 things happened, Matt. 3 things, like divinely orchestrated, I would say, that shifted me, that I would never be the same. The first one was I met with my counselor the first day after my first night in detox. In detox, there were 3 books there. There was the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there was Narcotics Anonymous, and there was a 24-hour day prayer book. Like, dude, I'm like a businessman. The only book I had ever heard of was Alcoholics Anonymous. You know what I mean? I'll read that, and I don't even know what that is. Right. You know what I mean? I think it's a book that teaches you how to drink like a normal person. It's not that. So I'm like just flipping through it. But I did read a chapter in there called The Doctor's Opinion, which does describe alcoholism and how it's a manifestation and an allergy, and certain people have a compulsion to it. It was words and thoughts I've never understood, but it had me to a T. And I spoke to my counselor the next day, and he looked at me like I was Neo, like I was an anomaly, like something. He was like, "What did you do last night?" I'm like, "Well, I read The Doctor's Opinion." He was like, "Whoa!" Now, I don't understand what people are doing in rehab. I don't know that people go there for weird reasons. I remember when they took away my mouthwash, and I was like, "Why are you taking away my mouthwash?" Like, people drink this. I was like, "Why the fuck would you drink?" Like, they just don't come, right? But I'm learning for the first time how bad this disease is. Do you know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, You're really fresh. Like, you're really new." So he looks at me. He's like, "You read the doc?" I was like, "Yeah." Like I'm looking. I'm like, "What else was I gonna do?" It's not the Four Seasons. I don't have ESPN on. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to do. And he goes, "Well, what did you think?" I go, "I think there was a lot of me in there." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "You think you're an alcoholic?" And I was extremely offended. I was like, whoa, no, wow, it's a little rough, don't you think?" He goes, "Well, let me ask you something." He goes, "Have you ever sworn to yourself in the morning that you wouldn't drink that day and you ended up drinking anyway?" Now, I have 10 in my mind, I have 10 days to make it out of there, right? So I think like, and for me, this feels like prison. So I feel like there's videos on me and, you know what I mean? Because I don't know anything about rehab. So I'm like,
Right.
everything by the book, they're going to let me out early parole. So I'm like, let's just be honest. Let's get the fuck out of here. And I was, yeah, this happens to me all the time. I wake up every morning thinking I'm not going to drink that day, and I drink it. He goes, "Okay." He goes, "No problem." He goes, "Let me ask you another question." He goes, "Have you ever said to yourself, okay, tonight I'll have only 2 or 3, but then when you start, you can't stop?" I'm like, every time. Every time. He goes, "So if you swear to yourself in the morning that you won't drink that morning and you drink anyway, and then when you make a deal with yourself that you only have 2 or 3, but then once you start, you can't stop, would you say you were powerless?" And Matt, I was like, I couldn't find a way out of this. You know, it was checkmate. It was like, if I move this, if I move my pawn, he moved. Like, I was like, yeah.
It clicked right there. Like like you were like, "Oh wait, this is
Like,
true."
I couldn't. I'm very, you know. It sounds like you're the same way. I'm very East Coast street smart. Like, I couldn't find a way out of it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this is my game. Don't ask me stuff from books. You'll kill me. I'm not smart that way. But this I can find a way out of. I there's no exit. There's no exit strategy. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm powerless. He goes, "Okay." He said, would you say that your life has become unmanageable?" So I took stock of my life real fast. You know, I'm combing my beard. I just got this big order from Victoria's Secrets. Got the car I want. Hot wife. Got a house. Right? Like, I'm taking it right.
Checking the boxes.
Checking the box, and he's looking at me like I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And he slams on the table. Slams, like wakes me up out of this me against me thing. He goes, "Adam, you're in rehab." And I'm like, yeah, I guess my life's unmanageable. And that's how big my denial is. See, it's not for me, Matt, and for many people like me, it's not that we don't know right from wrong. I know not to rape. I know not to kill. I know not to steal. I know not to hurt. I don't know fantasy from reality. I don't know what's going on in here from what's really going on out there. I can be in rehab thinking, is my life unmanageable? Well, hey, got the car, got the bit, and I'm in a rehab center. And they're looking at me like, are you out of your fucking mind? Do you think people just come here just to say hi? You know what I mean? Like, so that's the difference between me versus a normal person. Right versus wrong, guide all day. I will never hurt you. You know what I mean? The 10 commandments are installed in me. Fantasy from reality? No idea.
Do you think that that's the common mindset of most people when they are in that same position, 1 week, 2 weeks in? That's what this is what they're all going through, and they got to get you through the other side of that thought.
It's similar. I will say that most of the time it does. Sometimes, especially with the heavy drugs, it can bleed into right and wrong, because what you're willing to do to get a fix, and you're broke and you hurt yourself, and you're like, I was not at that level. But
so when you're in there and you get to that point where you're starting to feel different, like you're starting to actually feel different, think different, maybe your body's starting to change. Like what happened there? Like what did that feel like? What was the experience?
What it felt like to me was like there was an arm. Let's say I had armor. There was a crack in the armor. It started to crack, like something. This shield or this wall that I had put up against the world was starting to crack. That's what it felt like. Like, oh, they're starting to see me. They're starting to see me. They're starting to see me. Like, I can't hide.
So that's happening. Everything that was underneath for those whatever 15 prior years that never got dealt with that led to the problem to begin with? Did it start to bubble up?
Oh yeah, that's why
The underlying issues.
That's why there's 2 more stories. Yeah,
All right.
it all bubbles up. It all bubbles up.
So you started to have different. You began to you're going through the process. At some point, your body's chemically probably changing, getting healthier. Your mind's getting healthier.
Correct.
Like you're clear. You're probably thinking. I can't relate, so I'm asking you. But you're probably thinking.
No, these are wonderful questions, and you're doing a great job because that's exactly what's happening.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, day 2 or 3, I remember looking in the mirror and seeing the white in my eyes. Now, Matt, you have to understand, denial is a very tricky thing. You see yourself every day. When I start seeing, oh my God, like I started seeing the white in my eyes. I didn't realize that the white in my eyes weren't there. So when I was like, oh my God, I look better. Like my face sculpture, I'm starting to look like I'm coming back. I didn't know.
That's really powerful because as you're seeing that, any amount of denial that was there, probably that's probably impacting. Like now you're seeing like empirical evidence, like, oh my God, things are changing. This was real.
It's real. I didn't think I was that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, if you trim your beard a certain way, do your hair a certain way, and wear it closer, you could. But like now, I'm starting to see it physically in my skin, and my olive skin tone was coming back. Like, I didn't know I was that sick, and it just so happens. It's interesting. I like to share this story to let people know how crazy we can be. Never out of like, oh my God, look what a psycho I am. They still keep my blood level toxicity at the Hanley Center stapled to show people because I thought I was the best. Like there's nothing fucking wrong with me. I exercise it, and I was this close to death.
Come on.
Because I was
liver, like
I was. Well, what happens? Look, let's just use heroin because it's a very serious drug and it's very heavy to talk about. And people go heroin, right? If you're a heroin user, at least your liver and your kidneys and your pancreas are constantly breaking down heroin. They're used to it, believe it or not. You get used to it. I was drinking Xanax, Ambien, Oxycontin, Percocet, Darvocet, bodybuilding supplements, uppers, downers, lappers. My body didn't know how to break it all down. It didn't all jive. So my blood toxicity went through the roof. Now, granted, it wasn't heroin and it wasn't crack, so I thought it was okay. Some of this stuff is from GNC stuff. But when you start taking pharmaceutical stuff and a bunch of this and a bunch of that, dude, your body doesn't know what to do with it. This is all synthetic shit.
It's all foreign. You're not designed to process that.
You're not designed to process. So my blood toxicity was the highest they've ever seen. I looked great.
That's a record you don't want to have.
I looked great.
How long did you end up staying?
I did end up staying the full 28 days.
You did. And when you came out, can I assume that was a 28-day success story, or did you end up having to go back?
28-day success story, a full transformation, dude.
Okay.
I had a spiritual experience in there that changed my life forever, which we can get to with the other 2 stories. But bro, what a part of you has to die for a new part of you to be reborn.
100%.
That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. A part of me died. And I didn't listen. I jumped into this new Adam, and I didn't know if I had to be poor. I didn't know if I had to wear a yarmulke. I didn't know if I had to be baptized. I didn't know anything. All I knew was this guy was sober. That's it.
And that was the first time that had happened in how many years? When were you last sober? Before that, how many years?
I don't even think I understood what the word sober was.
15? And when you were in high school, you said, right?
I mean, even before that, man. I mean, listen, I was hanging out with the older kids at 12. You know what I mean? I don't know.
So it's more than half your life. At that point, it's more than half your life.
Yeah, but you don't think of it like that. You're not gauging it, and you're not, and there wasn't a problem the whole time.
I'm kind of getting to like, you didn't remember how it felt to actually not have that in you. That's kind of where I was going.
I had no.
Like, oh, this is a new feeling.
Oh man, it was
right?
unbelievable. It was, but it was not just a new feeling physically and mentally. Like I had teachers and I had guides. I have a mentor, and I was being taught how to live and how to think, and it just. I mean, man, I'm so grateful. It's beyond measure. This life is such a privilege. I just didn't know what I didn't know.
So many messages in there. So I'm curious, in the years since then,
Sure.
have there been moments that were so challenging where you almost felt like you were going to relapse, like you had to
There
get
was one. There was one. It's in my book. There was one. I don't talk about very often. So, my ex-wife and I'll always speak very, very highly of my ex-wife. We had a really interesting, very loving, but very challenging relationship. And one of the things I did to try to make amends for when I was in rehab and our daughter was only 6 months old was I took every single feeding and every single thing from when my son was born. She could sleep in. I did it because I wanted to somehow make an amends that I was gone for 28 days. Well, it's a lot. It's a lot when you're doing every feeding. And I was working, running the business, and I was basically sleep deprived for about at least 3, 4, 5 weeks, and we had to go out to this party and blah blah blah, and I was completely sleep deprived, and my son and I mean I literally my elbow, and we go to this party, and I'm only 5 years. I'm 5 years clean and sober, but it's not like. And there was I mean, you should have seen this place, man. They had a beer fountain and then a vodka thing and a tequila bar. And I'm a tequila guy. And these things were like talking to me. And I never had that before. They were like talking to me.
it was a trigger.
It was a trick, but it was also like it was just a pure and also the fact that I didn't say no. I didn't say I can't go that night, and I went against everything that I had been taught. And I got so blessed that there were some people that I saw there. I knew they're from recovery, and they saw me, and it was almost like they hovered over to me, and they asked, like, "Are you okay?" And that was my moment, because 9 out of 10 times, what I want to do is look at you, play the part, and be like, "I'm fucking fine. How are you?"
It's so
Because
Jersey.
right, like everything's great, right? And I was totally humble, and I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm like, this fucking shit's talking to me, and like, I gotta get out of here. And they took me outside, and we just talked, and we were all together, and we were so good. And I went back into that party like I had a whole new zest in life, just from being honest. Just from being honest.
Wow, that's powerful.
But yeah, there was one
Powerful, man.
time.
I heard you say something before, and I'm curious if this is kind of what maybe led you to finding like what your purpose was, right? So you go through all this really successful outcome, like really come out stronger, and you have a purpose. Like you found a purpose in life that wasn't there prior to that. But you mentioned before that when you were in in rehab, there were some people that were mentors, that were guides that really were there for you. Is that possibly like where you began to find purpose because you experienced that type of positivity and guidance from other people that you're like, oh wow, maybe this is who I am?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was that was the beginning of it. And then when I met Dion, Dion is a rock and roll Hall of Famer he's known for songs like The Wanderer, Run Around Sue.
Oh yeah.
That's my mentor.
Okay.
And he took me right under his wing the day I
Yeah.
came out. And I've never been loved like that by a man. I didn't care like that by a man. And what happened was I saw how to be, I saw what giving this kind of, what getting this kind of instruction in love is like, and giving it away was like. And I'll never be able to thank Dion enough. I mean, we're coming out with a book this year. That's my guy. He's got a Broadway play coming out this year, called The Wanderer. And these are all great accolades, but who he is he's the story of transformation. and he taught me how to be a story of transformation. And I wouldn't even done the Hero Project without him being like, when we sold Family Business, and I was like, what am I going to do next? He's like, what are you talking about, man? It's like, you're going to be Adam Jablin. You're going to influence people's thoughts. You're going to do what we do. And so I feel like it's really good to have an outside reference to your life and a mentor. And that's what I do now professionally for people. But I say Dion's name so proudly and so strongly because that's what I do for others, because I have the same thing.
That was so ultimately you had to go through all of that to actually find your purpose. And when you found it, let's jump into that, it opened up a whole world to other people out there who, for however they're going to find you, they're drawn to you, they find you, you find them. All these people you've met and people you have yet to meet who you're going to impact, influence, and help transform their lives probably never would have happened if you didn't have that intervention.
Yeah.
Those moments are not just life-changing for you, but they're life-changing for every other person that you are ever going to touch. Have you ever thought about that?
Oh, I think about it all the time,
Yeah.
and
powerful.
And one of the things that I was taught by a Catholic priest, mind you, which really was like, it was so beautiful for him to show me this, was that I said yes. A lot of the times I just want to give all the glory to God. I want to, I don't care. It doesn't have to be a Catholic priest, to be a rabbi. I don't care. But I always want to make it seem like, well, I had no choice, but I had a huge choice. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of me that either A, don't go, or B, go to rehab and leave early, or go to rehab and go back out and come back. You know what I mean? Like I had a choice in this, and I don't take credit for it. I don't take the credit, but listen, Matt, I'm one of these guys that, like, for the longest time, I didn't understand God. And honestly, I thought God was the biggest fucking cop out I've ever heard in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, fuck it, really? You're going to talk about God? You know what I mean? Like, my favorite athlete catches a touchdown, is going to thank God. I'm like, oh, really? You were the one that did the 10,000 repetitions and fucking
Right.
You know what I mean? You knock somebody out, now you're going to thank God. You don't thank God. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, but there's, you know what I mean? And I didn't understand, especially being raised Jewish, and reading Hebrew. I don't understand a goddamn word I'm saying. You know what I mean? But when you can find a higher reality and a higher purpose and realize there's something way more powerful going on, my belief in God is the foundation of my whole story.
Well, that's a huge transformation right there.
Yeah, from somebody that thinks, God is Tinkerbell. It's like, oh, wow, you sprinkle a little, to somebody that goes like, okay, without this, it doesn't work. It's a big transformation.
So you get to that point. It sounds like, by the way, so you met Dion in the rehab facility or out?
No, I actually met Dion when I moved down here when I was 11, 12 years old, and he loved me because I was the kid from Jersey, and there weren't a lot of kids like that. And he just there was like a recognition of souls, but
yeah,
he put me under his wing at 30.
Okay. So you get to this point. I mean, what a story, man. So you get through all this, and you get to a point where you're confident. I mean, you just shared with me how that moment happened where you're like, what am I going to do? And Dion says, you're going to be you. Right. Yeah. So now you begin the journey from everything to that point to where you are today. Can you just talk about, like, I'm curious, like, when you meet people who come to you, or maybe you identify who are at a similar spot to where maybe you were, how you even get them to see through it, like to actually have their own transformation. Like, what's the process? Like, what do you do? How do you help somebody?
Oh, I mean, wow, what a great conversation. I mean, it comes so many different ways. Obviously, usually they're looking for me, right? And it may not be them specifically. It could be a family member or a loved one, but usually somebody's worried about somebody that's suffering. And one of the things that they love about me is that they know, A, I've been through it, and B, that there's no judgment, and that I'm willing to go the extra mile. So I'll make the call. I'll do what it is, and we'll see if it's a fit. And usually, listen, a lot of times it doesn't happen 1, 2, 3. You know, a lot
Most
of
of the time, probably.
what?
Most of the time, but I mean, it's not going to happen like that. It's a process, right?
Listen, Matt, it depends. I've some of the same celebrities you'll ever even think of hire me right then and there. Then I'll have people where it's like 2 or 3 times they need to have a few more bang ups and slip ups. Then I'll have like, the next 3 like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, I usually get, we're okay, and then I get the call, hey, yeah. But
it's a tough time of the year for people. I mean, people who are really struggling inside, this is such a tough time of the year.
Yeah. But it's really about them not feeling judged. And it's a difficult balance though, Matt, because a lot of times too is there's a lot of people pleasing within the family. And, within the first 2 weeks, we're going to have to cut that off. And we're going to have to talk about the truth. And that sometimes makes my client be like, man, you're mean. And I'm like, no, I'm here for you. Like they're thinking this the whole time behind your back. I may be the messenger right now. We got to get you through this, And so it's a really delicate balance. But every client of mine is its own project. It's not like paper cutter program where you come, you work with Adam, and he puts you through these steps, and he puts you through. Each person is a unique organism, and we go through it together. But that's what I love about it. You know what I mean? That's exactly what I love about it. That we go through this healing process together. And it's not me shoving down their throat what I think is going to work. But we do have to start with the truth.
It's interesting. Behind you, you have a picture of Superman. I can only see half, but I'm pretty sure it's Superman.
Yeah, it's Superman.
And there he is, Christopher Reeve. And you have a project called the Hero Project.
Yeah.
Right. So you have books, you have the project, you have all these things you're working on. How does it all come together? I mean, you work on all of these things, but at the core of it, you're there to help other people.
Yeah.
Maybe reach their potential, find the healthiest version of themselves. I'm putting words in your mouth, but this is my take on it.
Sure.
Tell me in your words, like this right now, you're not just doing the one aspect of coaching, right? There's a whole point of view. There's a whole approach to what you're doing, right? It goes beyond somebody who just has addiction.
Oh, way beyond.
I want everybody to understand that. Like you're doing a lot for people. Like, give me the whole picture. Like, what are all the different things you help people with?
Well, I mean, a lot of times you have to start with I believe that in each person, I'm going to speak with my personality and my language, because you're talking to me. But each person has their own mission and their own purpose, and for me, I always identified with heroes growing up. I'm a kid from the '80s. I loved Superman. I'm a big Superman freak. Stallone and Arnold were like my The Rock back in the day.
Right.
And I love the idea of being like the hero of your own life, that you can design and you can show up for your own life.
I've heard people say it like you're the star of your own movie.
That's
right.
It all works. It all works. But so many people have so much fear or so many obligations or even being brainwashed to think that, I have to do this for this person, I have to do that for that person. And usually when they come to me, something's not working, And actually, when a lot of people come to me, what happens is a lot of things are working in so many areas, but the main thing's not working. And that's a conundrum, So what does it look like? My clients and I get very close, and we work hand in hand. And I don't like the word accountability. It sounds like I'm above them. It's not like that. It's Phil Jackson with Michael Jordan and Pippen. It's Phil Jackson with Kobe and Shaq. You need it. You need players and you need the coach. And you need everybody to put their 2 cents in. And we grow. We start with their causes and conditions of what's going on, literally from the day they were born, their mom and dad, their birthday, their siblings, kindergarten through 5th grade, 6th grade through middle school. high school, college, first drink, first drug, first time getting laid. I need to know everything about them, because how did we end up here? How do we end up here? Now that I get that, that's all discovery. I discovered it. Great. That's what. Now we have to recover, right? And we start. So there's discovery, and now there's recovery, and we start building plans in place where we start taking a look at what their needs really are, who their values really are, and what mission statement and purpose do they want to live by? Like, where do they want to thrive? Do you know what I mean? And how is their spiritual life? How is their emotional life? How is their mindset? Mindset and emotions, by the way, are two totally separate things.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have no idea about that, which blows my mind. Do you know what I mean? You could have the mindset and grit of this person and be like this the whole time. You know what I mean? So we do spirituality, physicality, mindset, emotions, financial well-being. You have to make sure you have to pay your bills, right? And we put the whole package together. But at the same time, always, and their love life too, and making sure that they have passion in their life and they have love in their life and what they're giving. And we start putting this person together. We really start putting them together. And if they love certainty, if they love a certain way of life, if they love 6 meals a day and training it, then I have to start putting in variety. But if they're too all over the place and they like to wing it, then I have to start putting in some more certainty and figuring out where they become. I have to start mixing it up on them for them to realize that there's so many different ways of living, so they can become a full person.
So you're really getting that whole picture, and then helping them to create balance.
Balance,
all the areas,
and a vision. I mean, Matt,
where are we going?
Where are we going? And we're gonna get. The thing is with me is we're gonna fucking get there, right? So we're gonna get there. So help me build this future that's compelling to you, because we're gonna get there.
I'm hearing something that it's like beneath all of this. There's one thing that has to happen, that has to be there the entire time, or this will not work, which is the person's desire to want that outcome. If their desire changes, then you're working with somebody who doesn't even want to do the work. Like, they may be like, I don't want to do this.
Let me put it to you this way. I just need the window to be open this much. I don't need a wide open window. I don't need a wide open window. I hear you, right? But what that will do, and what that can do, is it makes people think that, well, if I'm not ready to jump in with both feet, and I'm not all in, that this isn't going to work.
And they won't do it.
And that's not true. It's not true.
They just need a little bit of like, all right.
A tiny bit, because they have no idea what's going to set their sails open.
Oh, it's so true.
They have no idea.
Wow. Is that heavy right there? They're agreeing to something that they actually don't know it's the ultimate uncertainty. But that promise and the hope of what that could be is in and of itself is really powerful. So at some point, are you beginning to paint a picture of what could be to kind of inspire and motivate and create that hope?
Yeah, and Matt, there's a lot of things that change. I mean, we change the way they even their languaging, right? Like, there's an exercise I do with my clients where I'll literally use the word chair, like just chair, right? Like, and I want them to tell me about a chair, and then we're gonna do something, and then I want to hear the chair they describe, and then I'm gonna tell them the chair that I use, and then I'm gonna show them how two people came into this conversation completely different with what a chair is, and that's what life is really like.
Wow, that is so powerful.
So if I said the word chair to you, you may think about this big, red, beautiful chair. Like, you may be like, this is my fucking chair. You know what I mean? If I said chair to your dad, he may be thinking about a big, right? And what I need to do is change people's languaging, change people's, I need them to open up and be like, listen, the way they're thinking is not the way it is.
It's just your own truth, your own reality. It's not true for everybody else. It's just true for you.
It's just true for you at that minute.
The real truth that everybody agrees to is sort of reality.
If I say chair to you and you and I are on a flight in JetBlue, you literally may be thinking, here's my fucking chair. You know what I mean? Like, so it's at that minute, that time, what we're thinking at that moment, right? And once I can get them to be like, listen, man, there's a much higher reality going on here.
Yeah.
Much higher. What do you mean a higher reality? Okay. So Matt, here, when my clients say to me, what's a higher reality? Bro, so you're probably around the same age as me and from Jersey, right? Probably very similar in age and from Jersey. Right? What we're doing right now is some Buck Rogers shit. When I say a higher reality, I mean I can't explain to you how my phone can zoom you. I can't explain how pilots do not look at what they're doing. It's all radar technology, okay? That there are whales speaking underneath the ocean right now that you can't hear, that there are dogs listening to whistles, that they're like, this is why people are taking ayahuasca, DMT, all this stuff, right? Because there's a higher reality going on. And if you can open yourself up to realize that you don't know everything and that your 5-6 basic senses don't know what it's picking up only a certain amount of information, you can start opening up in a way that you never thought you could. That's what I do.
As you're saying, you're almost taking me there. Like I can, it's crazy. That's big. It reminds us that everything is bigger than all of us. Everything is bigger than all of us.
Think about where I'm going with my clients when they're with me. It got so small. Life got so small. Life got so hard. Life got so, you know what I mean? That they need something to get the edge off. I need to show them that there's something far greater and something that they can really understand
and connect to. Wow. Tell me what you're working on now.
Well, I got the book coming out with Dion that I'm really excited about. So that'll be coming out mid next year.
What is it about?
So we have a couple of different titles, but it's basically Dion's teachings to me and how I pass it on. Right now, I think we're calling it Conversation with Dion, but it's Dion, a rock and roll philosopher with Adam Jablin. And, Springsteen will be in there. Bob Dylan will be in there. Paul Simon will be in there. We're really proud of this. We're really, really proud of it.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Good. I have, the Hero Project is growing. I love and adore my clients. I have the Hero League, which is once a week. We do, it's like $50 a month, but it's a bunch of us, and we get in and we do an hour group coaching together, and we all build on one another. We're building this together,
like a mastermind, like a.
You call it a mastermind. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll be honest with you, dude. I'm 47 years old. I don't really know what the fucking difference is between all these. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, like it was a fucking meeting. You know what I mean? If I told my dad back in the day, hey, let's have a mastermind, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
The hell's a mastermind?
You want to make some fucking lace? Is that what this is all new language. A mastermind, group coaching. I mean, I laugh at all this stuff. But still doing my media stuff. I spoke to the LA Rams, spoke to the University of Houston, doing a bunch of stuff with the IFBB now, which is huge for me because I used to be a big bodybuilding fan when I was growing up. But really, Matt, at the end of the day, it's about helping another soul and helping somebody that is suffering the way I was, because I was suffering. I mean, I was dying. And
now your energy is it comes through the screen. You look ridiculously healthy, and
really, I'm sick as a dog right now, so that makes me feel good.
No, but I mean, when you're healthy on the inside, you look healthy on the outside, right? Your energy is super happy and positive, and
I'm working it closely in Tony Robbins' world, which I mean, listen, I know what that name is like for people. Sometimes people will hear either Michael Jordan or some people will demonize him. I get it, but I'm honored. I'm honored to the guys. To me, I think he's a phenomenon, and I think he's going to be remembered in a way that's very, very, very special. And he's been nothing but loving and supportive and kind to me, and I'll always have that guy's back. Things are just moving. Things are just moving, and I just want to make sure that I stay in my lane, and I do my part.
It's funny when you mention Tony Robbins. It's yeah, your guys' belief system is the same. I mean, it's reach as many people as you can, help as many people as you can, have an impact. How you're doing it, is it's yours. Your version of how it is
I'll
unique
tell
to
you though,
you.
Matt. I'll be
But
honest with you. When I'm around him, I'm like, my mission is the same, but he's maybe when he went through more pain, he's got my energy's pretty fucking good, but he's got something extra.
like the magnitude, like his volume is just like, I mean, I've never met him, but I've watched him. I follow him a lot. I've watched him a million times.
Dude, I maybe it's also just you have to know who you are.
Yeah.
My body needs a certain amount of rest. My energy needs a certain amount of. I need to take care of myself a certain way. I need to do. Well, at least these are my beliefs at my core. I mean, the guy doesn't sleep.
Stop. Yeah.
The guy doesn't sleep. And I get it. I get it. I get it. We're all wired differently. Magic used to need to sleep. Michael didn't sleep at all.
Yeah.
He's Michael. I've tried. I can't see straight.
There's a guy. I've read his book, Relentless. I think his name is Tim. I forget his name.
Tim Grover.
Tim Grover, man. That's another one.
Great, dude. Tim's the real deal.
Oh, as you're throwing names out, his name, but that mindset when you're talking about athletes, like I've read both of his books several times, actually.
Tim is the real deal, bro. Tim is the real deal.
I've seen him. I've watched him on shows. But as you're throwing names out, it's like these guys there is a similarity. They all end up having their tragedy, their trauma. Not Michael so much, but they find their purpose in helping people. They just find their purpose. There's a guy that I follow. His name is Ed Milet. He's a guy. I don't know if you follow him on social media, but another guy like story, tragedy, trauma, everything. And man, the amount of people he reaches. Ed,
that's a good one, dude.
The amount of people he reaches is crazy now with good stuff. Really, really good messaging.
That's great, dude. These are all really, really wonderful people.
Yeah. And your name is right up there next to him, man.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. But these are really good people. Their hearts are in the right place, and they're
for sure.
And something else that I really love about all of them is that before they did this, they made sure that their families were like, listen, this is my new mission. I'm going out there. Are you with me? Each one I got to talk to. From Tim.
They had the support. The families are on board. Because how could you do without that, really? Then it would just be like in Taoism, they talk about resistance versus flow. If you have any resistance, forget it. It's just not going to work. It's got to be flow. In fact, Tim talks about that with the flow state, I think, in his book. I mean, it's like you got to be in a flow state.
It's great. It's great.
I know you got to run, and I want to respect your time. I was expecting some really amazing, and this to be an amazing experience, but I think it actually exceeded what I was expecting, man. You tell good stories, man. You're a good storyteller. You were really vulnerable and open, and I appreciate that. And
thank you, Matt. I appreciate
powerful, man. It's powerful. And I'm looking forward to just following you and staying in touch with you and just watching what you're doing.
Anytime, I'm around the corner from you.
No, we are local. So is there anything you want to share as far as like how people can reach you, phone numbers, websites, Instagram, whatever?
You can find. So I made it pretty simple. I mean, it's Adam Jablin everywhere. So it's Adam Jablin on Instagram, Adam Jablin Facebook, Adam Jablin LinkedIn. I'm even trying to start to build a TikTok. It's
nice.
You know what I mean? Nice. I'm doing it because I know I have to. I think
as my 11-year-old daughter says, you'll be TikTok famous.
Yeah. And but it's weird. I feel old. I know that's important, but as long as I can keep building through and keep
awesome.
Yeah,
man. It's I like you're a hard worker. You're humble. You really are a humble guy. And I just don't want to neglect to say that because that's also important. Working hard, being humble, and just like keeping your mind in the right place. Like you are that. That's my experience with you, and that's very, very important to point out.
Well, I'm pretty sure all the humility I gained though was because I was such a maniac, before. I mean, it's when the alcoholism and the addiction, the denial, man, it just kills you, pal. It just kills you.
I'm gonna put all of your information down below, so it'll be in the description. And like anybody that watches this, whether it's today, next week, or 2 years from now, we now know this. It's just X amount more people that you can reach, and hopefully I can in some way be a catalyst to people finding me and then finding you, and
Sure.
reach as many people as you can, man. And I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep spreading your word. And
I
this is
appreciate
what it's all about.
Tell our good friend there that I wish her a lot of love, and I'm grateful that you guys had me on, and I'm around the corner, bro. So please don't be a
Awesome.
stranger.
Thank you, man. It was really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
We're gonna do a part 2 when your book comes out, if you don't mind. If you're open to that.
Not at all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Be good. We'll talk soon. Awesome. Thanks.